got the news yesterday
Yeah.
that Sean Connery passed away at the age of 90.
Yeah.
You know, something to celebrate. You know, like he lived a long life.
Long life.
Yeah.
Huge fan, and we have known he's been retired from movies for a while now.
The last film he did was League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yep.
And it's kind of an interesting thing where he's playing Alan Quatermain, who's kind of like, Sean Connery's James Bond was the inspiration for Indiana Jones, and so now he's playing Alan Quatermain, who was another one of the inspirations for Indiana Jones, kind of like the original Indiana Jones.
That's so interesting that he got to play he's Bond, and he's like in the Indiana Jones universe,
Yes.
and Alan Quatermain, like.
Yeah, he's like figuratively and literally Indiana Jones's father, but then he also plays Indiana Jones's like grandfather or his other father. You know,
that's the power of Sean Connery.
That interesting. I mean, long storied career. The interest, like with League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, he said like he passed on The Matrix.
Yes.
He said he read the script for
The architect in The Matrix was either
no. Because by that point, like, yeah, the architect looks like Sean Connery, but no, that was Matrix 2.
Okay.
He was offered Matrix 1. He was offered the role of Morpheus.
What?
If you can imagine.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because
people
people hear that story about how he turned on the Matrix and they assumed the architect.
That's what I assumed.
He looks like Sean Connery, but no, he was. Maybe they offered him the architect in Matrix 2 also. But they offered him the role of Morpheus,
and he turned it down
in the Matrix, and he turned it down. And he said, the reason he turned it down was he read that script and he didn't understand it. Like it made no sense to him. It was gobbledygook as far as he was concerned. It was gibberish. It was nonsense. And so he turned it down. And so then he said when he was offered League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, he felt the same way. He's like, I don't know what the fuck's going on in here. This is fucking gibberish. This is dumb. This is stupid. I don't get it. But the last time I turned down something that I didn't get, it turned out to be The Matrix. So I'm not turning this down. You know, like I'm going with this. And then it did not become The Matrix. It flopped. I like it.
Yeah,
but,
me too.
But yeah, it didn't work out. And then it was kind of like, it was like, okay, I guess it's time to hang it up. You know, I had a good run, and this is as good a way to go out as any, I suppose.
We love you. Like he turned down Gandalf too.
Okay.
And I think he turned down Back-End Profits too. They figured out what he could have earned. It was like $450 million that he left on the table.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he probably didn't need it, I'm sure.
No, like his famous, he was
share the wealth.
Yes.
Come on, Sean, don't get greedy there.
In Robin Hood Prince of Thieves, he was King Richard the Lionheart at the end, and $500,000 I think was his like fee, or $250. Just for like a minute of screen time. You
know, Sean Connery has been playing old man Sean Connery maybe since he was 40.
Yes.
You know, like it's like he's the lion in winter. He's put out to pasture from like age 40, and he just kept going and going and going and reinventing himself. And because like that was kind of the thing, like, you know, James Bond. You know, that's how like our dads and moms fell in love with Sean Connery, was as James Bond. He was it. He was the hero. He was like what Harrison Ford is to like us. That's what Sean Connery as James Bond was. And then it's like he did kind of become like the surprise cameo where it's like Time Bandits. It's like he's you know you see Theseus fighting the Minotaur, and he's, you know, completely in a helmet. You can't see who it is. He fights the Minotaur, kills him, and then he takes his helmet off. It's Sean Connery, you know. And again, probably paid a boatload of money just for that like brief moment. And then what a great ending to I love Robin Hood Prince of Thieves. Yeah, but like what a great ending where he comes back as like the returning king. He, you know, was masterful as Robin Hood in the movie Robin and Marian, which was kind of like, you know, like in the 70s, you sort of had this like revisiting of old heroic myths and doing sort of like the end of the mythic cycle. And you know, like I would assume that Robin and Marian was one of the inspirations to Frank Miller when he did The Dark Knight Returns, because it's Robin Hood, the myth, the legend, but he's an old man. He's getting to the end. He's like getting long in the tooth, and all the joy of like his previous adventures is gone, and now everything's just deadly serious. And you know, he's got this like fight with the sheriff of Nottingham, and you think about all the old Robin Hood movies, you know, Douglas Fairbanks Jr. and you think of Errol Flynn. You know, you think of like the old movies and all the color and swashbuckling and swinging across, and then his fight with the sheriff of Nottingham in Robin and Marian is just grim and like butchery. They're just like cutting each other to pieces, and there's nothing flamboyant or fun or exciting about it. It's just like grim and unfortunate, and there's like no joy to be had, and it's really an amazing movie, Robin and Marian.
He must have really vibed out on Robin Hood to come back again then for Prince of Thieves, and I can't wait for our Prince of Thieves episode too.
We'll have to do a Prince of Thieves episode. We'll have to do a Robin and Marian episode. There's like, you know, we know the Bond stuff, but there's I mean, Sean Connery just like is in like 100 amazing movies.
100 amazing movies. I'm disappointed I didn't in time for Halloween get my Zardoz costume.
Zardoz. I was thinking like on the drive over, I was thinking like, what's my favorite Sean Connery movie? And I kept going to Zardoz. Like Zardoz is one of those movies that it's like feels like it's like made specifically for
I know,
me.
like.
And Zardoz came with a big build up. Like, do you ever have somebody say to you like, "Oh, Matt, I just saw this movie, and if there was ever a movie made for you, you got to check out this movie. You got to check it out. It's so your speed." And then you check it out, and it's like it's not. It's like a piece of crap. Like that's what I got with Zardoz. I would get. I had a friend who was like, "No, this is your kind of movie. You are good. This. It's like somebody made a movie specifically for you. You're gonna love it." And then I eventually checked it out and was like, "Yeah, right on the money. This is for me." It's totally like a Jack Kirby kind of movie. It's like. And Zardoz now is kind of, it's a meme. It's like, hey, check out this goofy picture of Sean Connery in a bikini. And it's like, it like ends there. But like the movie's so awesome. It's like, it melts your brain.
I have it on DVD. It's in my collection. I have to dig it out.
Yeah, so that's my favorite Sean Connery movie.
We forget too, Sean Connery, Oscar winner for The Untouchables.
Yeah.
So he's got, not only his Bond, he does have his Academy Award.
It's interesting, you know, that was like another one of his like old man put out to pasture kind of roles. Like he's the old man in Untouchables, and he was maybe like what 50.
Yeah.
And I keep thinking of like the movie The Rock, because in The Rock he's like Sean Connery in full
action mode.
Yeah, full action mode, like a superhero basically, with like long flowing hair, like superhero, like a gun in each hand. And like that came like decades after one movie after another where he's the old man. It's like, oh yeah, James Bond, he's an old man now, and here he is, you know. But he came back and like, you know, reclaimed the
action throne.
The action throne,
and,
yeah.
Same movie too, where you got Nicolas Cage going action, action star in that one. And I think Sean Connery vibes out. I think he's a fan of his ponytail.
Oh, right.
Because
okay, let's hear this.
He wanted for he had the ponytail in Zardoz. I think he had a long ponytail, and then he had a ponytail. He wanted one for Hunt for October, but John McTiernan was like, he told him it like looked terrible and forced him to cut it. But then he kept like demanding one. I think he ended up getting one for Medicine Man and for Highlander 2, The Quickening. He had his ponytail as Ramirez, I think.
Yeah, like that's the Sean Connery we know. Like our parents, baby boomers, and like, you know, it's like you kind of like reject the heroes of your parents' generation, and like, you know, like my dad was such a James Bond fan and such a Sean Connery fan, and it's like for me it was like, and he's you know you'd always hear from baby boomers, Sean Connery, James Bond, that's the best James Bond, all the rest, and it's like, well, you know, Dad, I like Roger Moore better. Like I like Moonraker.
Octopussy. So
yeah, he's in space and so, and like that's kind of where I, you know, encountered Sean Connery, where it's like it was at a time when like Sean Connery and Roger Moore were like alternating James Bond movies, because it was like you'd have like a Roger Moore one, And then you had Sean Connery come back for Never Say Never Again. And again, it's like, oh, James Bond, you're an old man now. You're
He's been put out to pasture.
Yeah, you're 43. You can't do this stuff anymore. Yeah.
Hang it up. It's like, send him to the retirement home.
Yeah, because that was like the theme of like it starts out he's in like a spa or something because he's like all he's got like arthritis or whatever, and so they would alternate. And it's like I like these Roger Moore ones better. And it was like. It was like one of those things I had to get a little older and sort of understand and go back and watch those like early like Goldfinger From Russia with Love and watch those and really start to understand like the appeal of the Sean Connery and understand like what Sean Connery had to offer as James Bond and why like people who grew up with that kind of saw like oh George Lazenby, Roger Moore, oh no
yeah, Sean Connery. I think he was a Mr. Olympia runner-up. Huge bodybuilder.
Arnold before
Arnold before Arnold.
Like it's like a bodybuilder with like this weird accent that like and then gets put in the movies.
I love it. Arnold before Arnold. That's so.
Sean Connery James Bond was just not like that's not the Sean Connery as I understood it. Like to me, like Sean Connery was. The guy from The Hunt for Red October. He was like kind of this like this grizzled old veteran, kind of playing playing like that like kind of like a Obi-Wan with Kenobi with an edge. That was Sean Connery to me.
It's me, Sean Connery. I'm a sub-captain from behind the Iron Curtain. He's like doing his like Scottish. I love it. He's like his Scottish accent. I think he's doing his Scottish accent when he's playing Malone, like the Irish guy in The Untouchables. Scottish accent when he's playing the Russian.
Yeah, has he ever played anybody Scottish? Like he plays everything but Scottish.
He's like, it's me, Ramirez from the Highlander series. It's me.
Yeah, like Arnold would always play these like. He would always play these like mom and apple pie kind of like. Well, my name is Quaid. Like his name is never Schwarzenegger or some equivalent in these movies.
Me, John Matrix.
Yeah, it's never like
I'm Harry Tasker. It's me. It's Harry Tasker.
It's me, Wolfgang Hohenschwangau. Like his name is never like a name that matches the accent. A year ago, around March, around St. Patrick's Day, I checked out Darby O'Gill and the Little People, which I hadn't seen since I was a little kid. I saw it when I was a little kid, loved it and stuff. And seeing it, recently, I didn't realize like Sean Connery is the lead.
Yes, Emma's been like, she said like we're gonna rewatch Darby O'Gill and the Little People, and I cannot wait. I've watched it in school before.
Yeah, I watched it a million times as a kid, and it was again like before I really understood who Sean Connery. Like I knew the gray bearded Sean Connery. I didn't know like the skinny dark hair Sean Connery.
It is exciting to see him like it's like oh yeah he hasn't been put out to pasture yet.
Yeah, so this is like the beginning of his career, Darby O'Gill, and like he's great in it, and he's really playing like the face, like he really like he is like just the nice guy, like because like James Bond, like he's the hero ostensibly, but he's an asshole, Where Darby O'Gill, he's like the hero in a Disney movie. And again, not playing Scottish, playing Irish. Watching Darby O'Gill recently, on DVD, has all the bonus features and stuff. And they interview Sean Connery, and he says like that he gets stopped all the time for Darby O'Gill.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's interesting. That oh my, there's a huge Darby O'Gill like fan base.
It's like a St. Patrick's Day kind of movie, but we could have also done it as one of our like Halloween movies in October because it's got like ghosts and it's got the banshee and he's out on the moors and the banshee starts chasing him. When you're a kid, it's like it's leprechauns and gold.
That's awesome. He's in like The Longest Day, I think. That I would always repeat his like he always has it seems like some really good quote or really good lines.
Quotable, yeah.
He's like, let's get him back for Dunkirk. I found the cure for cancer, but I lost it.
The delivery, I get like Arnold before Arnold. Like we think of Arnold as the guy who, I'll be back, or consider the divorce, or like all the quotes. But that's a James Bond trope. He was the guy who invented the little joke line that you say after you kill somebody.
I love it.
Something he ate must have disagreed with him, or something ate him and disagreed with it, like that. Somebody gets eaten by a shark. James Bond like pushes a guy into the shark tank, and then the guy gets eaten. Oh, something. He must have disagreed with something that ate him. You know, like he's always got the zingers, the one-liners after he dispatches somebody.
There was a quote from LXG. He's like, I keep calling it LXG. I'm
League of
so
Extraordinary
sorry.
Gentlemen.
I'm so sorry.
You drank the Kool-Aid. You're a mark for that movie.
I keep calling it that. It's like
I call Independence Day ID4.
I was literally gonna say, or like
all these like straining to come up with some catchy.
I call Train Spotting 2 T2.
Why do they? I tried to come up with that for Transformers versus G.I. Joe. I would call it TVSJ. Yeah, Transformers versus Joe. You know, like that kind of like straining for a concise little thing.
The line that my buddies always say from the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen is, he's like, "Pipping the ace in 1,000 yards."
Goose-stepping morons like yourself should try reading books instead of
burning
burning them. Yeah, I mean, prepare for a series of horrible Sean Connery impersonations. Highlander was another cool one. Yeah, that's, I mean, you know, it's just like one classic after another for him. Outland is another one. Like I've seen a lot of people talk about Outland. Yeah,
that's one of my favorite Sean Connerys.
That's a good one.
It's from underrated director Peter Hyams. He did like Sudden Death, and he did Running Scared with Billy Crystal and Gregory Hines, and Time Cop. I think he he's his own cinematographer. He like shoots and directs his movies. So and he did The Relic too. But Outland, I vibe out on that one.
We're doing an Indiana Jones episode too. That'll be coming soon. So you know, we got to talk about Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. You know, we're huge fans of the work, and you know, this is the Total Recall flavor. You know, it's bad imitations. And, you know, misquotes. Like we're butchering these quotes left and right.
One of my superpowers is horribly wrecking famous quotes from.
I hate those guys who like are constantly quoting movies accurately. Yeah. I like a horrible paraphrasing misquote that like misses the whole point or gets the quote completely backwards. Like
that's me.
Bringing a gun to a knife fight. What a fucking idiot! Bringing a gun to a knife fight. I'll stab you in your neck. Bringing that gun around here when I'm armed with it.
Heidi ho, yippee-ki-yay, guy.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Yippee-ki-yay.
Do you expect me to talk? Because I think this thing's probably gonna kill me before I get a chance to say it. Goldfinger. I'm as human as the next guy. And it's like, Dad, I was the next guy.
I forgot about that. The Tapestries?
The Tapestries. That was Harrison Ford.
Oh, Harrison Ford.
Yeah, Sean Connery did say that.
There's like the Tapestries?
Yeah, Harrison Ford honoring Sean Connery with his like bad Scottish imitation. I mean, we're going to cover this in more detail in our Indiana Jones episode, but Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade, it's like Indiana Jones started out as, Steven Spielberg and George Lucas wanted to do a James Bond movie, and they weren't able to make that happen, so they created their own James Bond, and it was Indiana Jones. And then, 2 movies later, they bring in, Indiana Jones's father to play his like literal father in the movie. Like
that's so brilliant. Yeah. For Sean Connery flicks, I always end up going back to Last Crusade. I'm always I always want to see him in that.
That was like icing on the cake. That was like if that had been his last role, it would have been like going out with a bang. I mean, I'm glad it wasn't, because we did end up getting things like the Rock and stuff. If you weren't on board with Sean Connery by that point, this is going to put you over the top. This is going to make you a fan. His role in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade kind of reminds me of like John Travolta in Pulp Fiction, because it's like there's the dance scene, and it's like we know the kind of dancing John Travolta can do. Like he is Mr. Like he could disco dance all over that floor and knock your socks off. and then he gets and he just does this like little subtle little dance, and it dances kind of awkwardly, kind of badly, and then starts getting some moves going, but still, you know, like it's like, but
the
it's like
Travolta marks are popping.
yeah, like you're like you're watching it, knowing what he's capable of, and seeing him like do this understated version of it, and that's kind of like Henry Jones. That's kind of like Sean Connery in Last Crusade, because you know he could be the Indiana Jones. He could be the guy who's like kicking ass and killing people and doing backflips, but instead he's playing the meek professor. He's playing like this contained version, and then occasionally, you know, like with the umbrella and the birds, occasionally he saves the day in kind of like a subtle way, and it's like you just feel that electricity of like watching somebody who you know could like knock the doors off the place playing understated.
I love it. And another quote I forgot. Suddenly I remember my Charlemagne. And my armies were the rocks and the trees and the birds in the sky.
The one my dad would always say to me is, you left home just as you were becoming interesting.
We named the dog.
When you have a delivery like that, people are going to write, you know, great, catchphrases for you to say. I'll be back.
I'll be back. Bye bye.
Bye bye, baby. Hasta la vista, baby. Man, he was in a Tarzan movie and didn't play Tarzan. Man, what a fuck up. I played Macbeth in Macbeth. Oh, Marnie. He was in a Hitchcock movie.
Yes.
He was in Marnie. All those James Bonds they're so great. I mean, just going back to Dr. No, they're like, it's so great. He's so great in them. And then like there's that one, I think it's Diamonds Are Forever, and it's like the pre-credit sequence is like, it's where he kills Dr. Evil. Like I knew Dr. Evil before I knew Blofeld. Like I was sort of coming at this stuff backwards, but I knew Dr. Evil before I knew Blofeld. And so he kills Dr. Evil, like he kills Blofeld in the pre-credit sequence to Diamonds Are Forever. And it's like, what a crazy sequence. Blofeld like melts in a hot mud bath. They make it like it's his final death, but then the plot of the movie ends up being that like, oh, there's multiple Blofelds, and that might have just been a decoy, you know. Is the George Lazenby James Bond. And Telly Savalas plays Blofeld.
So good.
Yeah, so
that's
great.
a great. I can't wait for a Bond episode.
And Dame Deanna Rigg plays James Bond's wife. You know, it's, oh man, what a great movie.
George, I think he didn't do another one because he became like a counterculture, like a hippie.
He got caught up in the counterculture and didn't grew a beard and didn't want to play James Bond anymore. But like he was amazing in that movie, great. He's following Sean Connery. Like talk about a tough act to follow. But like everybody assumed, like it kind of it put a stink on him where it's like, oh, he only did one James Bond movie because he sucked, because he's no Sean Connery. But like they were ready to bring him back for another one, like, and that is a great James Bond movie. Like that could have been like the final James Bond movie. You know, it's like a great capper on the whole.
I love
story.
it.
Yeah, so much fun. But yeah, we'll save that for our George Lazenby tribute episode.
Yes. You know what?
It took a while for them to get like an Englishman to play James Bond. It's like Scottish guy and then an Australian.
Timothy Dalton, I think he's Welsh.
So you got Pierce Brosnan's
Irish,
and then Daniel Craig English, I guess. Yeah. You know, the original guy to play James Bond was American. I can't think of his name, but the first James Bond movie was a live made-for-TV movie back in the 1950s era of live television. Casino Royale, and James Bond is like an American FBI agent, and then Felix Leiter is his like British counterpart who kind of helps him out, kind of like a reversal, because like an American audience would not relate to like an English secret agent. Super cool. Like you got to check it out. It's a really good. It's on YouTube. It's a really good.
Oh, I'll definitely be watching that for sure.
It's just like one of those classics of that era.
James Bond was also James Brolin. I think was going to be James Bond, and so they were trying like toying with him to be Bond. In On Her Majesty's Secret Service, George Lazenby's like, that's not a knife. This is a knife.
I mean, all this talk about how great George Lazenby is just such a wonderful tribute to Sean Connery. We watched all the Sean Connery James Bonds a million times, loved them, burned out on them because we watched them too many times, and it's like, oh, let's check out this George Lazenby one that everybody says is a complete turd, and then you check it out and it's like, wow, this is great. So it's like you come to that after ODing on all the great Sean Connery ones.
Yeah, and to wrap up the Sean Connery tribute,
George Lazenby's George
like,
Lazenby's the only true Bond. Finally, James Bond done right. I want to do a Tenet episode. I feel like I'm the only person who's seen Tenet.
I have not seen it.
I saw Tenet. It was in a movie theater. There were two people. I was in the front row. This other person was in the back row.
Yeah.
I saw Tenet. But like Tenet, it becomes a whole other thing. But in the beginning of Tenet, you feel like you're watching like James Bond for the 21st century. It's like it made like I love the Daniel Craig James Bond. It feels so like like it's got an edge, like it's cutting edge and stuff. But Tenet felt like okay, the next evolution of James Bond, and Daniel Craig felt like okay, old news, old hat. Compared to Tenet, to the sort of like the James Bond character in Tenet.
I cannot wait to see that.
Yeah, it's great, and that's just how it starts. It starts out as like the best James Bond movie you've ever seen, and then turns into something else altogether.
I'm so pumped. In the cast, you got is it Pattinson is in it, and
yeah, Robert Pattinson plays like the Felix Leiter character. Again, Tenet was probably like. It was probably like Christopher Nolan was like, I want to do a James Bond movie. Let me do the James Bond movie. No, you can't do the next. So it's like, okay, I'll make up my own, pseudo James Bond movie,
Yeah.
and then create something that like, blows the doors off of James Bond.
I'm looking forward to it. I cannot wait.
Yeah. Again, a fitting tribute to
Sean Connery.
Talking about how great
Tenet is. He is the first knight.
His first night, yeah, he's King Richard, the Lion-Hearted. We talk about all his great catchphrases, like "Welcome to the Rock."
Welcome to the Rock
is such a non-catchphrase. Like there's like the movie's called The Rock, and he's saying "Welcome to the Rock," but that delivery makes it into something. It makes it into a catchphrase. Welcome to the Rock.
Yeah, you're right. Like last time I said that, I was like, "Welcome to the Rock," and they were like, "This is a Wendy's drive-through, sir."
Like that. I mean, I think that is the mark of a star, if you can take a non-catchphrase and turn it into a catchphrase, like Will Smith did that with "Hell No." Like there's nothing more neutral than "Hell No," but like Will Smith turned it into like trademark "Hell No," and Sean Connery turned "Welcome to the Rock" into trademark "Welcome to the Rock." Arnold turned "I'll be back." I'll be back. That's a non-phrase, and he turns it into cinema gold. The Sean Connery at the pearly gates, sharing a martini with Sir Roger Moore. I love the movies of Sean Connery.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed. I have my own sort of like Sean Connery pantheon that includes Zardoz, Robin and Marion, the James Bond movies and stuff. But like Sean Connery was he was my dad's hero. Like that was like the Sean Connery James Bond. Like my dad, like he saw every one of those movies. He was like blissed out when he would watch those movies. Like a Sean Connery mark, and followed him on the full journey. I don't think my dad saw League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I don't think he's seen that one. And probably that ship has probably sailed. I mean, I don't think my dad's looking to watch League of Extraordinary Gentlemen at this point in his life. But
LXG.
Yeah, LXG. Like I don't think my dad ever saw The Matrix either. Like I think he would probably have the same reaction that Sean Connery did to reading the script. So like I do like when I think of Sean Connery, I do think of my dad. For what that's worth or whatever. I got to see Moonraker with my dad. I got to see Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade with my dad. We saw Moonraker, but Sean Connery's not in Moonraker. Why am I bringing that? Again, this is like the worst. We've produced the worst Sean Connery tribute. And we get like.
This is amazing. I think I'm really proud that we've delivered the most insane Sean Connery.
Yeah, the worst Sean Connery tribute ever. Yeah, like I think the first Sean Connery movie I saw in a theater with my dad was Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. I know. I'm waxing poetic about how my dad took me. He took my brother to see Never Say Never Again. My brother got to see Never Say Never Again with Sean Connery, in the theater. I got to see and Kim Basinger. How great were all those movies that Sean Connery turned down?
Oh my gosh.
Like The Matrix, such a great movie that Sean Connery turned down. Lord of the Rings.
Like Sean Connery, it was amazing when he left almost $500 million on the table.
So yeah, Sean Connery, this amazing body of work. Like he has such a great body of work that everybody you talk to probably has their own like canon of like, here are the top 10 Sean Connery movies. Like everybody has their, like,
Yeah.
like, you know, there's me with like Zardoz at top of the
Love
list.
Zardoz.
And then somebody else could have something totally
Like
you know,
Last Crusade.
Last Crusade, The Rock.
Any of his James Bond appearances.
Yeah. Like each one has something like, I mean, Goldfinger is like the gold standard. But like Doctor No's great. It kind of creates that whole archetype from Russia with Love. Kind of like is kind of like The Empire Strikes Back. It kind of like subverts the archetype. You know.
There's the there's like a contingent of fans, the Medicine Man fans.
Yeah, and it is like where did you first encounter Sean Connery? Like how did he get on your radar?
I stand for Hunt for Red October.
Yeah, Hunt for Red October. Like when Hunt for Red October came out, it was kind of like a reinvention of Sean Connery, where it's like, okay, this is Sean Connery 2.0, and he's like the Silver Fox or whatever, and he has the hairpiece.
Yeah.
Like I remember he has the hairpiece. I remember like my aunt saying that like she's like in love with Sean Connery, like and like when he adds the hairpiece. It's like she's ready to run off with them. So yeah, Sean Connery, what a
we
cinema
love
great.
Cinema.
In his own Hall of Fame, he'll definitely be in the In Memoriam for like next year's Oscars.
Yeah, and we think he'll make an appearance at the Totalies.
Yeah, the Totalies. Like he'll definitely be in the In Memoriam section of the Totalies. This has been the Total Recall tribute to Sean Connery. And
it's been. I think this was our most touching episode.
Yeah, and it's 2020's been rough, and we lost another great at the tail end of the year.
Yeah, I think we got the most emotional in this episode.
This has been the most emotional episode
we
so
got
far.
the most real.
It's fresh. It's still fresh. Like it's really like when we're recording this news is a day old.
It's a day old. You know, we usually joke around on
yeah, I mean, and we you know kept it. It was awake.
Yeah,
it was awake, more awake than a funeral. You know, an Irish. You know, like all the Irish characters that Sean Connery played.
Yeah,
though he wasn't Irish.
Wasn't Irish.
We gave him a wake. So there was some emotion and sadness, but also some joy.
Joy too,
and a couple of laughs.
Yeah, usually I'm joking around, but I think I got real on this episode.
Yeah, this was a toast to Sean Connery. And yeah, we'll see you next time. And like I don't know about you, but I got a list of movies that I want. Like it's been years since I've seen Robin and Marion, and it made a huge impression on me. And even Zardoz, it's been a little while since Like it's probably the Sean Connery movie I've watched the most after Last Crusade.
I think we're gonna watch Molly Maguire's is another good one, and we're gonna watch Darby O'Gill.
Good night, Sir Sean.